other friends from Croatia. So I'm really grateful for them being here and supporting me. Also for all of you. Thank you, Rada, for the lovely story. So I am a storyteller, writer, and a poet. And what I would like to share with you today is my personal story. So it's a premiere, I would say. And the interesting part is in that personal story, I weaved my fictional story, so bits of it. So you will see kind of mixture. And this story is dedicated to my father. He died when I was 8 years old. So you will hear what really happens to me after that experience. It was a hot summer day. I was playing in the dirt near the main road when the car stopped. And I heard the words, "What are you doing here? You know better. You shouldn't be playing here. It's dangerous." And I looked up. I recognized my daddy. I jumped and said, "Daddy, finally, now we can go home and eat that watermelon." You know what? We lived in a small village. And the night before, we drove to the town and we bought the big watermelon. And we all in the house agreed we are going to cool it down and eat it next day when the father and the rest of the family who worked, when they returned home. But my daddy looked at me and said, "Well, I have one more thing to do. So you go home straight away. Don't play here. And I return soon and we will share the watermelon." But he turned around, drove one way, and I went the other way. And I waited. And I waited. And I have to tell you, that watermelon was never eaten. What I learned later, he drove himself to the forest because he was a forest manager. And he wanted to check if the forest gates were down and locked. And on his way, when he was returning home, he fell asleep and his car lost control and he was down in the ditch. His body was found after 3 days. When the funeral was finished and we all mourned, but we didn't know how to express feeling, how to talk to each other. Nobody was brave to start. And for me, very soon after that incident, I was bothered with 2 questions. I thought, my father was angry at the day of his death. Was that the reason why he never returned home? And the second question that bothered me most of my childhood was his death really painful? Did he suffer? So the life goes on, and I grew up, and another hot summer day arrived. I lit up a candle to remember the death of my father. And I looked at the flame. And the more I looked, the sadder I became. And I started to cry. And I really cried that day and realized I'm still grieving for my father. So I thought, what best way than write a story for him, to say him a goodbye. And here you will hear just kind of summary of that story. A woman sits on the porch. She holds a bouquet of white lilies. She wants a car to take her to her wedding day. She spots the car. She gets up. She walks down the path, opens the gates door, and the car was already there. It was black Cadillac. And she opened the door. She looks in, and she was not surprised seeing her father who passed away years ago, because she dreamt about that in her dream. She said to him, she settles, closes the door, and the car starts moving. She looks around, doesn't know what to do, and then she hears the voice. You have 10 minutes. Oh no, 10 minutes, that's not enough. I have so many questions to ask. 9 minutes left. And she knew she has to do something. She looks at the driver, and his face is pale. His arms are pale, and he has a nasty bruise on the forehead. And he wears that gray new suit. But for her, he's as beautiful, as elegant as she remembers him. And then she said, Daddy. Yes, my dear. Do you remember the day when we last met? That was the day you died. Yes, my dear. And you know what's bothering me? You were angry that day, and was that the reason why you never returned? Oh no, my dear. I was not angry at you. I was worried. That was a dangerous place to be. And you know, it was an accident. And she looked again and said, you know, Daddy. Yes, my dear. Well, you have that nasty bruise on your forehead. Was your death painful? No. As you heard people said, I fall asleep. I was so tired. It was so hot. I fell asleep, and then the accident happened. And what was problem for me? I woke up. I was at one place, and the rest of you were on the other place. You were crying, and I couldn't reach you, and I need to know what happened. So it took some time for me to realize where I am. And then she heard a voice. 2 minutes left. First, she didn't know what to do. Then she put her arms around him. It wasn't his physical presence, but it was a presence. And then, for her, it was as a big bear was hugging her. She felt the warmth that she almost forgot about it. There were words whispered in her ear. Remember, when you need a comfort, you place your hand on your heart and wait for that beep, for that heart beep. And when you can feel it, you will know I'm there. I love you. And then there was a voice, 30 seconds left, and she knew she has to leave. She opens the door, but before she closed that door, she puts that bouquet of white lilies on the seat, and instantly the car was gone. She stands for a while, and then she turns and walks towards the church where her family and her partner were waiting for her to get married. And dear friends, this is the end of the story. Thank you for listening.
Dear Marijana, Thank you for sharing your personal story about your relationship with your dad. That was so touching and so warm. And I want to know, um, did you heal that part of your heart through telling that your story?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, I wrote the fictional story 4 years ago, I think. And it really felt to me as I put an end to one chapter of my life and I opened another. But thanks to Eric and this opportunity, I now worked on this story so I can share it with you. And through that experience, I felt more healing. And I think each time I share this story, I shared it several times before this, there was some more easiness to me. And from the responses I have with people, interesting was the last time I shared it, some people who listened shared that that was the day when their father died of their father's death, and that they really needed to hear that story. So I think that was really what inspired me to share more. So really, if there was no for this festival and Eric, maybe this story would never come out. So I'm really grateful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any thoughts?
Can I share? Can I?
Yes.
Yes.
So Mariana, it was so beautiful to understand that you found closure, and there is the whole fact that the story itself was the start of a healing process. It touched me so much. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also want to say thanks to Mariana. It was really touching, and it was really maybe start of healing for me, because I don't have a father and mother. They passed away. And it's very interesting to know that this world is not unique world, that what we are seeing, it's not the whole thing. And although we cannot touch each other like now, we are touching the souls of all people. So all windows that I have here, and I'm new here, and I say hello to Eric and all of you, it's a great thing. So we are all connected. Thank you very much, Mariana.
Thank you, Yasmina.
Okay. Rona, are you here? Rona Barber? There you are. Okay, please come off, turn your microphone on.